Okay, now we have another simple blue LED mod. This is a Sega Genesis Model 2. It has a red power indicator LED right here, and it's not very bright, so we're going to change it out with a blue one that's a lot brighter. Okay, so now when you get the metal shield off, so you need to take off a bunch more screws. Wow, 9 screws. Now if you'll note, they are slightly shorter than the 4 used on the outside shell. So we'll try to keep those 4 separate. Okay. Looks like our dropping resistor is R9, and I can barely make out the numbers. Looks like 121, so it's probably 120 ohms. Double check that. Yes, 120. And that is actually too low for the blue LED. I mentioned this in the Sega CD Model 2 video, but I need 180 ohms for optimal LED operation for this particular LED. But like I said in the last video, once you know forward current and forward voltage, you can type that into your online calculator. LED Calc is what I use most of the time, and it'll calculate what resistance you need to put in line with the LED. One thing I did not mention last time is you also have to know the supply voltage. So there's three things you have to know: supply voltage, forward current, and forward voltage, which on most of these older consoles, the supply voltage is 5 volts, which you can always double check by looking at your power regulator. Most of them have a 7805 in here. Also just hook up your multimeter to it while it's on. So I'm going to try to remove that resistor. Okay. Take the board off. Looks like we're just down to the 2 holding the cart connector. Those are different colors, so it should be real easy to keep those separate, and they're much longer than the rest. Access to the bottom of the board so I can heat up the pins for the LED. I'll be able to pull that, grab onto it from the top, and my soldering iron is just wide enough to be able to heat both legs pull it right out. And like I said in the last video, your short leg is your cathode, which will be the negative. And it's marked on here, so we know how to orient it. And if you happen to do this, cut both your legs to even length, you can still tell which one is negative. Usually there will be a flat spot on the side of the LED. This one does not have it. The red one, the original red one has a flat spot, but it's parallel to both legs. You can also look inside the LED, and they both have like a big triangle on one side, on one leg, and then a very smaller piece on the other leg. And the leg with the larger metal triangle flag inside is always the negative. Okay, I didn't suck that solder out, so another trick is to just drill the holes out. I have a really tiny drill bit. Goes right down in there. Same size as the original hole, and I can just drill the solder out. Be sure to get all your metal filings off the board. This is called a pin vise. It just holds really tiny drill bits. This is a Starrett brand. I'm pretty sure I got this from Granger. It's just a few dollars, and you can buy these little drill bit sets. They're numbered 61 to 80. Higher the number, smaller the bit. So number 80 is a 0.0135 inch, and then 61 is 0.039. Very small bits. I don't remember what number I use for drilling solder out. Somewhere in the middle, I believe. But it's handy. Through, bend the leg so it stays in place while we solder. No secret to that. Cut the legs off. This will be a little bit tricky to get 180 ohms to that same spot where the surface mount is. It would really help if I had some 180 ohm 8th watt resistors, but all I have on stock right now is quarter watt. They're just physically larger in size. What I'll do is I'll bend the legs of the resistor back around and kind of cross each other, and then I'll cut them off so there's a little bit of space between them also. Zoom in on that for you. Okay. And then we can just lay that on the board. In fact, I think I'll put a little flux on there. Because I know it's an old resistor and those legs are corroded or oxidized. That'll help it solder down. There you go. Kind of bodgy, but it'll work. Speaking of working, we'll take it over and test it just to be sure it's working before we put it all back together. Okay, I've just got the motherboard plugged in, and there we go. LED works great. Now we'll put it all back together and see what it looks like finished. Okay, let's turn it on and try it out. Okay, so let's see what the blue LED looks like on the Model 2. Beautiful. Of course, the matching LED and the Model 2 Sega CD. Looks great.